Welcome to the Create Clarity with Charity podcast, where hybrid business coach and consultant Charity Brown shares her bold and daring business tips that will transform your business into the best that it can be. Here's your host, Charity Brown.
Today is Charity Day. That's right, folks. Not because we're giving to charity, but because charity is giving it to us. We've got Charity Brown, the founder of Now Answer Group, who's going to be talking about fiscal proficiency. Now, she's endorsed by people like Kevin Harrington of Shark Tank because of the work she's been doing for 20 plus years, helping small business owners learn to leverage the tools to succeed with their financial knowledge as well as other areas of their business. So let's welcome Charity Brown to CEO Crossing. Charity Brown, welcome to CEO Crossing.
Thank you, Paul. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, we're thrilled to death to have you on. And, my partner, Eric Bell, has talked about you, and I got the opportunity to meet you and talk to you about what you're doing. And I just find it really fascinating, the work you're doing to help business owners out there from some angles that a lot of people really, they don't delve into. And when they do delve into it, it's more from a perspective that may just not be relatable. Whereas you're somebody that you're just genuinely a relatable person. You're somebody that knows how to really tackle the hard parts of business, the finance side, the accounting side, but you do it in a way that makes it fun and makes it really, an enjoyable process. Has that been an asset to you during this whole journey of helping entrepreneurs on their path?
Yes. So financial literacy is really important for entrepreneurs and business owners. And it's always kind of like one of those things that people really don't enjoy doing. So creating a different energy and environment around it to make it less stressful and kind of remove the stumbling blocks that usually ail business owners in their growth process when it comes to understanding their metrics and KPIs. I have devised a really fun program, right? that helps business owners get the high-level tools that they need to drive their business.
This is one of the reasons that Kevin Harrington was attracted to what you're doing. And Kevin Harrington was famous for being on Shark Tank and one of the monumental characters on that show. He was really drawn to what you were doing. He saw it as something different, saw it as unique. He gave you a huge endorsement, but since then, he's also really wanted you to be a bigger part of what he's doing because he sees the value in your approach. And that must really make you feel good about the journey you're on.
Yeah, I think he and I really connect on that mentorship level. I mean, he obviously has his own mentor programs and, consults with many high-level investors and entrepreneurs. And he sees what I'm doing, which is really developing the high-level tools that aren't usually accessible to all entrepreneurs and giving them what they need to have a solid foundation to be able to get funding, capital, and the mindset side. So it's like a hybrid. And he recognized that coaching and consulting are like two different animals. And when you put them together, you really get that heart-centered and brain-centered business. And that is really what we need in this day and age. People are so disconnected from their business and their personal life. There's like a very fine divide. And a lot of people are just completely disconnected from their feelings a lot and find it really hard to get what they want, their fulfillment out of their business. They could be making 7-8 figures, but be completely destroyed internally and not being able to get to their personal goals, financial goals, and just running into roadblock after roadblock.
Yeah, it's so true. And one of the things that I like to say is where there's no purpose, there's no point, because I've been that person who business was going well, but I was focused on the money. I was focused on the wrong things. I lost my purpose. I wasn't really operating under that big why that drove me before. And what I saw happen is when things were good, it was fun. But boy, when things got rough and my personal life was falling apart, I was going through a divorce, and all of a sudden that stress and depression hit me. I didn't have that big motivator to keep me really focused on what I was doing and why I was doing it. So I kind of lost that, like you said, that heartfelt side of it. I really lost that. And when I discovered my purpose is to give and to make a difference in the lives of entrepreneurs, which I know is a big driver for you as well. You want to make people feel less stress and have more information so that they can operate at the highest level.
Exactly.
How important is that heartfelt piece in terms of business from what you see with other people you work with when they don't have that? And it's just about functioning and not about functioning at the highest level.
Yeah, it really can distract you. I mean, the hunger, and for massive success, you have to have that feeling, whether it's hunger or drive or passion or love of the business. It's like once it's just a money game and it's how much money do you have in the bank, everything else falls through the wayside. So we kind of get back in touch with reality. One, we keep it real, and then we get back into the fundamentals of why, your big why, and the massive motivator, and to learn ways to let past disappointments drive you instead of destroy you in regards to the business.
Yeah, and I don't want to shift gears too far away from this topic because this is a great topic, but you said something that really caught my attention there, and I know you know this better than anybody. You said money in the bank. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people in business get excited that they've got revenue coming in. Wow, look at all this revenue coming in. But at the end of the year, there's almost no profitability. There's almost no money in the bank. At the end of the day, what is one of the most important things in business is at the end of the year, did that money you brought in translate to cash in the bank? Is that fair?
Right. Well, cash flow is really important. Like, you need to know your cash flow. That is one of the very important items that I go over in my course. Know your KPIs. I mean, if you're not working at optimal performance and you don't know if you're at a loss or a gain at the end of the year, you're kind of in trouble. You're not really driving your business. Your business is driving you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you've seen people that are revenue rich, but poor at the end of the year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and it's all about organization, cash flow, and dialing into those key metrics. And it really seems like, oh, that sounds easy. Oh, I have a financial GPS on my phone. Now I feel like I have a target. I have a goal. Yeah. I know what I'm looking for. But people get so like overwhelmed with the day-to-day like processes and procedures and being like knee deep or neck deep in the processes of the business, that it's really hard for them to sit down and really analyze it and make sure that their business is profitable. So it happens all the time. I have clients that just use their bank balance as a way to tell if they're making enough money or not. Yeah. Like, oh, do we have enough money for payroll? Okay, we're doing good. It's like, that's not really making it.
Yeah, and there's also those smaller businesses that sometimes use their bank account as if it's their own bank account, and they kind of operate as that's what they're living out of.
Sole proprietors can do that. LLC, yeah. People can do that. I mean, that's a viable business as well, but
it can be a dangerous practice, though, right? Because it can get to the point where your focus is on growing the business just enough so that you've got sustainable living, but you're not really focused on growing. And people target. I know a lot of companies target 10% growth. 15% growth, and they call that a good year. But in this day and age, some businesses, some industries, 10% growth time over time can put you out of business. Is that right?
Yeah, with inflation and the cost of living and everything, it's like you really need to have a 10x like plan. Like, how big are you thinking? A lot of people kind of put themselves in a box and limit their beliefs and their goals because that's just they didn't really attain that higher level of vision for themselves. So they just continue to set the bar low.
Now, this is not to criticize any business model or anybody out there that's working with a CPA, because I love my certified public accountant. He's really valuable for me when it comes to doing certain things, tax forms and maybe end of year taxes. But what I learned the hard way when I started in business is I thought, oh, I've got this CPA. He's my business consultant. He's going to guide me down the path of what I can do to maximize my potential. What I found is he gave me very limited information. A, because he operates in a silo, and B, because his goal is to make sure that A, I don't get audited, but also B, that he's able to serve me doing what he does well, and that's my taxes and that types of forms. And there's so many businesses out there that rely solely on a CPA. Can you talk about that aspect? Because I know that's a challenge that you and I have talked about offline, that's sometimes very limiting in terms of what people are going to learn.
Yeah, CPAs are awesome when it comes to tax law, tax filing, and putting the numbers in the right box. But a lot of times CPAs don't have that entrepreneur business owner insight where they're going to give you a strategy how to increase your cash flow and increase your revenue stream. And they are very well trained in areas of gap and FAS and delivering financials and helping you avoid pitfalls that a lot of people do in this financial reporting. I work with several auditors and CPA firms through the last 20 years, and there's been lots of times where it's just standard for them to do certain things that really impact the business owners, like net worth or net profit margins or capitalizing things that could be written off, and things that you can optimize and kind of streamline if you have a good conversation with them. So it's important to kind of talk to them about certain movements of your money that you may not notice, and you're just like, oh, I'm just going to operate off my tax return at the end of the year, and then you realize that they did a special election and wrote off $500,000 worth of new equipment you bought, and now your net profits tanked, and you can't get that line of credit, and you can't get certain investors because you thought you had 187,000 and now you have negative. So it's a lot of different, you got to talk with them and really tell them what your plans are for the future in regard to the tax return, because that really at the end of the day is all the banks, the venture capitalists, any of the funding, any of the capital that you need to get, you need to have good returns.
Yeah, I learned early on that if I did my homework and came to him with questions, he would answer them. But normally it was like, yes, you can do that. But there was no alternative. There was no, but here's another strategy. It was almost always like, yeah, you can do that. Yeah, we can work with that. But it was never like, have you considered this? Or maybe you should look into this. And that's where somebody like you that's out there helping people with fiscal knowledge in terms of how to manage their business. I mean, there's so many things that people are just really missing at the end of the day. You mentioned at the beginning of this key performance indicators, KPIs. What are some things that people should be tracking that maybe they typically would not, or maybe they are tracking, but they're not digging into the way that you think they should?
Yeah, it's really niche specific. But in overall, there's 5 KPIs. So your revenue, your adjusted cost of goods, your payroll and labor, your overhead, and your net. But I like to drive in also to the marketing spend. And for growth, if you're scaling in this market, you really need to pay attention to the internal KPIs of your marketing spend and things like that are going to drive your sales up.
Yeah, that's really powerful. And so when it comes to that side of things, do you find that that's an easy process for people to start adapting that mindset of tracking those and leveraging them correctly, or is that a huge learning curve for a lot of companies?
It depends on what level of the game we're at. It really depends on the customer avatar. What client am I talking to today? Am I talking to the couple that owns a couple barbecue joints downtown, or are we talking to a very high level manufacturing company CEO? It depends.
So we talked about Kevin Harrington and that relationship and how he was attracted to what you were doing. What was it that first drew him into the Charity Brown camp? What was it that really made him see something different in what your approach is?
It was the hybrid consulting / coaching program that I built, the 5-Star Business Accelerator, because it's also a program where we help small businesses, new businesses get funding, get business credit, and pretty much line them up for success their first year.
That brings up an interesting topic, the idea of business credit. Now, I think a lot of people really struggle with that concept because you can take out loans through certain programs like Cabbage and some other cash advance type of places or MCA funding, and it may be drawn against your personal credit. That doesn't necessarily help you build your business credit. It doesn't necessarily help you give your DUNS rating a better rating. What are some things that people really need to be thinking and considering when it comes to building their business credit, and how important is it that they have their business credit built up versus personal credit?
Oh, it's so important because a lot of people don't realize that your business credit is separate from your personal credit. It's really important, and a lot of people never register on Dun & Bradstreet or Equifax. They have no credit even 5 years later. They never got terms. They're always just using their business. Their business is using their personal credit, and now they have all this liability that really the business should be carrying. So personal guaranteeing large lines of credit and putting your house and your livelihood on the line really is dangerous territory. And I try to, educate my new business owners on how important it is to get that first business credit card, and to register with Dun and Bradstreet and Equifax.
It's funny, when I started my business in 2009, which shows you how smart I am. 2009, what a crazy year to be starting. The economy was in the toilet. But it actually ended up being a good year for me because I was doing sales coaching and consulting at the time, and businesses were struggling. So my phone was ringing off the hook. Where it got scary is when the phone stopped ringing, but that's another subject. But in 2009, the mindset that I had coming in was what I'd always been taught. I'd always heard people talking about. And it is that mindset of leverage your house. It's like, you want to start a business, mortgage your home. And, people are always taking out second mortgages. It's like, you saw it on TV, you saw it in movies. Today, it's a little different. It's a little sexier to be an entrepreneur. There's avenues that people have coming into things. Crowdfunding didn't exist even in 2009. If it did, it was very basically under the radar at that point. And so today, there's so many more opportunities. What do you guide, or how do you guide people that are starting off today differently than what they used to? Because like I said, the mindset used to be that, hey, take out that leverage on your home. If you want to start a business, you got to take that risk. But today, that risk it can be mitigated in other ways, correct?
Yeah. And that's good planning, getting down to the fundamentals, really finding out what is your need as a business owner. So that's one thing. People just start businesses, register with the Secretary of State. They think they have a viable business because they paid for the business name, but they didn't really dig down into, what is my investment going to be? What do I really need to get clients blowing up my phone? How much money do I really need to set off this marketing campaign? How much money do I need to get a storefront? So there's a lot of different scenarios that could come up. I mean, it's hard to get a line of credit from the bank your first year in business. Now the SBA loan is servicing first year business owners. But really it's about getting maybe like your first credit card, building the credit so you can get larger lines of credit.
Yeah, and I think, and this may not be a fiscal topic in itself, but the idea of being able to start your business with the mindset of eventually freeing yourself from some of the daily activities. When I started the business, I was so eager to start a business that I didn't even think beyond me being the face of it. I didn't realize I was going to be the accountant, the bookkeeper. I was going to be doing it all the first year, the first 2 years. Yeah. And when I started learning about outsourcing and learning about bringing on other resources to help me grow and scale, that was such a hard lesson because I was kind of entrenched in that idea that I had to do it all. But that doing it all sometimes kills you.
Oh yeah, that's the burnout. I had several restaurants, lottery facilities, and I would end up in the dish pit and on the line and doing all the prep stuff and bussing tables. And you have to jump in fees first. Like when you invest in a business, no one's just going to hand you your profits. It's like you got to put that sweat equity in there. You got to get some skin in the game. And if you think that you're going to have a 6-figure or 7-figure business and it's going to be a cakewalk, then it's challenging. So if you like challenging, then do that. But if you want to just sit back with your feet up, that's not the kind of businesses that make profits.
Well, I always said, if you want to work more, earn less, and have more stress, start your own business. It's perfect, right?
Right? Because and the first 3 to 5 years, that's what it's about. It's really, going through the motions and knowing the intricate parts of your business. So, I had a bookkeeping and accounting service for like 15 years from 1999 until just like 5 years ago. And I had hundreds of clients and small and mid-sized business owners. And I watched a lot of these people epically fail because they did not want to put all the other hats on. And they didn't know the intricate parts of their business that were actually bleeding them dry. And it's because at the beginning of the inception of the business, they didn't take the time to really learn those parts. They just outsourced and didn't care. Like, I don't want to know my book. I don't need to know my numbers. I just look at my bank account. I don't need to, get an attorney. I'll just file this here, file this there, or maybe I don't need to know anything about marketing or my website. And then the website goes down, they lose half their sales. They don't know how to fix it. They don't know who to call. All kinds of things happen when you're in business. You need to be able to save yourself, essentially.
That's one of the most valuable lessons that I've heard in a long time, and it's such a great reminder because it is true. You don't want to have to be burdened with doing it all yourself, but you definitely
Right.
have to have a deep understanding of the business. Now, there's a difference between working on your business and working in your business, and there's so many people
Mhm.
out there that say, I don't want to be working in my business, I want to be working on my business. And that's such a grandiose idea for a lot of people at certain stages because, look, if you don't work in your business as well, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know what customers
Exactly.
are really seeing. You don't know what's really happening if those key employees leave you or those key resources dry up. You're in
Mhm.
trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a dog eat dog world. You got to have the tools and resources to stay afloat, whatever may happen. So that means you got to have some lines of credit. You got to have the know-how how to do the complicated tasks, whether it's a service-based business or it's a done-for-you service or it's a professional service, to be able to jump in an emergency and know exactly what you need to do. And a lot of times but I would say 50-50. Like a lot of the people that I run into really actually know how to run their entire business by themselves. And so sometimes it's a hard knock life for some of us, because you can't lead a horse to water and make them drink. It's like
Yeah.
you either are gonna, you know, buy into a franchise and say, "Oh, everyone else is going to do the work for me." Here, we got the franchise logo now. We invested the $250,000 in the business, and but I'm not working back there. Like, what are they crazy? They want me to wash dishes?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You're like, well, if Tom doesn't show up and Ben quits and so and so walks out, then you got to lose $3,000 that day. So what are you going to do? Do you have a plan? And so we go through a lot of those kind of policies and procedures and operational things that um, are really like the lifeblood of people's business, that they don't realize that they may have to be able to go in there and do that food order and
Yeah.
check that inventory and make sure that your admin quit and you can't process payroll, so who's going to do it?
Well, you mentioned franchise businesses. Now, I personally, this is just me, I have no interest in buying a franchise. I respect the franchise model. Obviously, a lot of times the franchise owners are the ones that make the money. But the franchise model is smart in the regards that they they create repeatable processes.
The
And
cookie
anybody
cutter.
that wants to learn how to create a business that can really self-sustain when things fall apart, or if one employee is missing. I have a friend who, his business, when he started it, he kind of followed that franchise model, and he created a procedure for everything in his business that every employee had access to. So if somebody was gone, somebody was out, somebody could pull up the procedure manual and see how a certain process was done. Maybe that's
Mhm.
overkill, but maybe not. But there are certain lessons that come out of the franchise world that I think a lot of people could benefit from. Now, you owning multiple restaurants, did you follow any kind of those patterns from one business to the next where you?
Oh yeah, we cookie cuttered all of the policies and procedures for the financial modules and the structure and the ordering and the hiring and like the handbooks and the HR,
How much of a difference
all
did that
that.
make?
What's up?
How much of a difference did that make for you?
Oh, it relieved me from so many tangly messes.
Yeah.
Like that's Parliament. It's so important, like to have those dialed in, because all those have huge ripple effects with the state and the feds and employee retention and HR. All those very important things that can cause you the hugest headache. So if you have employees, you need those.
Amen.
Yeah.
Charity Brown, we love you over here at CEO Crossing. And folks, if you like what Charity has to say, she's going to be doing a webinar for us on August 19th that we're going to be promoting out. It's going to be 1 o'clock Central Time. So be checking CEO Crossing for that information. Charity, we're huge fans of you over here. And obviously, Kevin Harrington isn't the only one who thinks you're super smart, because we love you. Can you tell people how they can learn more about what you're doing?
Yes, you can visit nowanswergroup.com, and Kevin's endorsements on there. And there's also a strategy button that you can book a 30-minute consultation with me. And I would love to get on the phone with you guys.
Charity Brown, thanks for helping people cross over to success at CEO Crossing.
Thank you, Paul.